thing. Like there was
Can we make Cody freestyle?
Bro, what?
Yes.
No. I'm going.
Cody, freestyle about intergenerational trauma.
I got the stick Harry Potter.
Yeah.
I'm gonna fuck on her daughter. Extra points to the house.
Yeah.
Turn your ass to a mouse.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say shit.
Get in, Cody.
Got it.
Why are you doing this to me?
Go, my boy, go.
Intergenerational differences with Asian American families.
Very much so.
Lebanese families specifically, like most of them came from Vietnam after the war. There's a lot of like war trauma. Like my family personally were like war refugees. They're boat people. Mom was born in like a refugee camp, you know. So it was like I feel like it affected how they kind of viewed the world, and like they never really talked about trauma or anything. They just kind of were always just kind of pushing forward.
No, even the article I said was talking about how there was, because that horrible lack of communication has led to all this like lingering trauma that a lot of people don't really understand. The environment that a lot of people grew up in because their parents have been refugees and whatnot. I think that a lot of people coming to America, especially with the whole like assimilate, integration, whatever stuff, people like have like very much suppressed their like culture and history to fit in and whatnot. So then there's these people who are even like just second generation, not having any connection to like their culture.
My mom can't speak Cantonese even though she was born in like Malaysia.
I actually read an article on like bilingualism and like academic achievement based off of like first and second generation American or Asian Americans. To that, but I think the other side is that you are more closely associated to your culture if you can speak that language. And I definitely think that that's the case for a lot of second generation Asian Americans, where it's like they can't speak their language, and so there will always be a barrier between them and their parents.
The idea of assimilation, like in the article I read, one of the main points was that second generation like Asian Americans were able to code switch better. The main like I guess like pool of people that they like asked about and like took data from, it was also a predominantly white institution, so it was majority college students because they are the up and coming like adults right now, and it was just a lot of like that assertiveness and obedience that there's also the stereotype of, that it's like, is there a reality in that stereotype, but also like being able to code switch at the same time and being able to find your own identity as an Asian American opposed to like, I guess, native Asian.
They claim that people who are only native English speakers and are unable to speak another language are generally like more assimilated.
People put up all these barriers and like measure who's more
Asian.
Like who's more Asian than another person. It's just like
It's like my dad came here on a boat from Vietnam when he was 9. My mom came here for college, like from the Philippines. They both have lived like lives with that culture like heavily ingrained in them, and I think that goes back to what Aiden was talking about with like survival, where it's like I mean, of course that's the goal of every parent, right? You want your kid to like have a better life than you.
Okay. Boat people game.
Yes, yes, we're on the boat. We made it.
We made it up.
I flew.
You flew?
I flew.
Loser.
Damn.
Yeah, since we're all Asian here, it's like I think it's a really important discussion to have. You know, what growing up was like. Because obviously our childhoods will never be like our parents.
Yeah.
We technically might have it better, but it's also like we have different traumas that I think they don't fully understand because of that, like intergenerational, like the differences between having like a homogenous culture and then like, well, now it's everyone's culture, and it's like, well, I act different because that's how I was raised in, and I was like, well, that doesn't make me any less Filipino.
parents have more like an even worse trauma, you know, like war refugees and stuff that overshadows all the other like the, you know, losing your culture and everything. They're doing it to escape the war trauma. And so then but the war trauma doesn't carry over as much as the assimilation trauma, and so that becomes an issue that they can't relate to.
But then for second generation, it's also like, well, then it's like I'll never fit into anything.
I don't feel like I'm like accepted as like a white man, but I'm also not accepted as an Asian name.
You can always talk about, oh, they don't really understand what we have to go through as Asian Americans, but I think
You don't understand me, Mom. Me now.
But it's like, if you take it from their perspective, it's like, well, I went through all this, but my kid is going through much less than me. And I think that's usually what's going on in their minds, which isn't necessarily wrong, right? We are objectively like living a better life than our parents.
So that's why they're shorter and they're curved, so that means the edge alignment's easier, and they're pretty like solid and stocky, so they're really good for chopping.